this period of my political career, to be honest.
You know, we want a bit of positivity around some of it, other than being all doom and gloom and stuff.
You know, without people, there's no business.
Hurry up.
Oh yeah, open soon.
I'm sure you've heard this question a million times, but when do you think the mount will be open?
It's been 6 months since the tragic slips happened here at Mount Maunganui on the 22nd of January. But before we even get started, I want to acknowledge those that lost their lives here on that fateful day. It's an absolute tragedy that 6 people died here because each of them was a living, breathing human being who are no doubt dearly missed by all of their loved ones. They are not just a number on a headline. So to those that lost someone in the slip, stay strong, the community is here for you. This will be a 2-part video because I'm still waiting on some information to come back, such as an OIA request and some investigations that are still ongoing. So if you're one of the victims' families or one of their friends watching this and you want to reach out, I'd be more than happy to talk. So we're going to go around and talk to a few members of the public, a few business owners and some experts to see what's happened, what they think and what's to come. I'm Caleb Brewerton, bringing you The Real Shite. Among those impacted by the slips, local business owners have been doing it tough. However, they say it's not as bad as it's made out to be, and they remain hopeful. How was your business doing before the slip?
Well, it was our first summer, so we were starting to see a really good spike up in business, and then once the month slipped, it just dropped 40 to 50% and never really picked up again, at least for us.
We're a unique case because we're still new, so we moved to this location last year, so I'm only comparing 2 numbers where last year was already a quiet here, and I think that's what a lot of people don't really get. It's like, yeah, everyone's taking a hit, but we're taking a hit off an already like pretty crappy economy.
Yep.
But we've been real fortunate in the sense that our customer base has been real positive and showing up, and it's the locals that's really pulling through.
Yeah, it was going great. Summer's obviously always real busy in the Mount, bro. Like, especially when the cruise ships are in, like, it gets pumping over here, yeah.
After the slip, how have you guys been doing?
Not as great. Some quiet weeks, some good weeks. Sort of, the Mount is very weather dependent.
Do you have confidence going forward?
If we can keep the growth that we have at the moment, yeah. No, it's only looking up. Like, I think the worst is past us, and now we just got to grind it out till summer.
Yeah, sure, yeah. You know, like, if you don't have confidence, you wouldn't be in business, I guess. I see a bright summer ahead, especially if they reopen Mauao.
I mean, yeah, hopefully as like summer rolls back around, we can hope more people are coming down these ways, hitting the beach, shopping, you know.
Do you think if the Mount was to remain shut long term, I guess, over the summer, would you still have confidence?
February was hard, but then it picked up, and I think people are just getting used to, like, there's other things to do at the Mount. So we'll restrict it for sure, but not as much. I hope not as much as what everyone who's all doom and gloom about it says.
100%, yeah. I feel like, I mean, the Mount is like our main tourist attraction here. That's what brings the people in. You know, without people, there's no business.
They could potentially still impact businesses, but I mean, like, if it needs to be closed, it needs to be closed. There's not much we can do about it. If the work is too much to be reopened, if it's not safe to go up or around, there's no point to reopen it and get people in danger just because businesses are suffering. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'll see a bright summer ahead, yeah.
Manager of the Mount Business Association, Jay Benner, says businesses were already competing in a tough economy, but there is confidence returning thanks to the support of locals.
I think everybody had a reasonably tough year last year just with the way that the climate was, but that was nationwide. They were actually having a pretty positive summer, and many of our retailers and our hospo were reporting reasonable lifts on the year before, so that was positive. Obviously, straight after the landslide, trading conditions got pretty tough, and they did miss out on a lot of summers where we make the money here, and then that generally carries you through winter. So for some businesses it's been a little bit hard because they missed out on some of that key summer trade we would normally have.
How is their trading doing, like as of today?
So initially in the earlier months, it was really tough. Like we saw a pretty significant drop, but the latest market view spend data that we got through is really showing that it's bouncing back. So it was only a few percentage down on last year for the same month, whereas earlier on we were over sort of between 20 and 30% in the different sectors. So it's good to see that the retail and hospitality are trading better than we were expecting them to be doing. We've got 4 new businesses coming into the main street, so that shows that people have got a bit of confidence back here again.
Are you concerned about any businesses, or do you think there is still lingering concern?
I think that's probably only natural because it's the uncertainty. We still don't know exactly when the Mount's going to reopen, but it's wider than just that. I think if you talk to any Main Street manager throughout New Zealand, they'd say they've got concerns for certain businesses, and that's just what we've got happening internationally. Fuel prices have gone up significantly, business overheads are through the roof, and things like fuel has that flow-on effect because then suppliers are putting up their prices and it flows all the way through.
And you mentioned some campaigns that TCC or the Mount will be involved in.
We're actually about to run a campaign, and it's about to be launched towards the end of the month, and it's really focused on pulling back some of the visitation that we've missed from the likes of Auckland, Waikato, Rotorua, Taupo. And I think it's just reminding everybody that while Mauao might be resting, that the Mount's still a real vibrant and happening place, and there's so many other things that you could be looking at.
Aside from the businesses, there is definitely a sense of frustration within the community over the closure. However, there is also a lot of understanding. So what does the Mount mean to you?
Oh, well, it's sort of the centre of this particular area. It's a real thing that stands out, and everyone sort of likes to congregate here. Yeah, it's a centre of our community.
Oh, lots of fun, sun. Yeah.
It's part of the history. It's part of the vibe of the place, I suppose.
Just a place for exercise, I guess. Just being able to walk up there for sunrise, sunset.
It's a cool place where it attracts a lot of like-minded people in this area.
A spiritual place, for me anyway.
It's iconic really because people come from all around the world, and it's really sad what happened.
Are you annoyed that it's still shut and that we can't use it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah?
it's a bit of a shame.
But understandably so.
Well, they've got to sort it out. I mean, this doesn't need to be the surf club, but they need to remediate the track, and so yeah, it'll be done in due course.
It's just how it is, I guess.
Not really, nah. Yeah. I think it's been nice, seeing people in the other spaces.
In a way, because it's everybody uses it every day. It's such a awesome place to be, but because of the damage and everything, it's probably it's got to take a while to repair.
Has this affected how often you come into the Mount?
For me, I come here every day anywhere here. I usually surf, so for me it's not too big. I don't usually walk up it that much.
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah. But I guess there's still nice walks here.
Probably initially, but we come here regularly. We like it. Still nice. The beach is still good.
Yes, it has. Yeah, we don't come down as often as we used to, which is a bit of a shame. Not really, no. We come every week just to support the shops and things around here and the local community and stuff.
Why do you think it's taking so long to reopen?
Well, it was a mess. There was a lot of water came down and made a mess.
It potentially is still unstable. I studied geology and stuff like that, to be honest, realistically is super unstable. So I guess now they're having to assess really if it's a good idea to carry on,
To keep it open.
Yeah, to even reopen it all. Should it have been open in the first place?
I think the council needs to, really get stuck into it now and communicate with the public.
I know from walking around the base that there used to be lots of old slips there, so they've got to make it safe, I guess.
Do you have a message for the council or anything else to add?
Oh, just to involve the public because it's an iconic place to be, and we need more transparency, more communication from the councils, and involve the people of the Mount and Tauranga and the whole Papenti.
Just sort it out, and hopefully maybe at summertime we'll be able to walk around it again.
Just keep trying.
Hurry up.
Oh yeah, open soon.
But if it's at the cost of like a landslide hurting a human, then potentially it might be a better option to modify the environment. Because it's pretty much all modified anyway. Like, it's not natural environment. We're like trying to get it back to that. You know, like New Zealand realistically is a place that looks really natural, but it's been modified hundreds of times.
Tauranga's MP was on site with the first responders after the slip occurred and says the community has been outstandingly supportive.
Look, it was absolutely tragic, horrific event that occurred, and the inquiries will hopefully put us all in a better position next time, so the risks that were there, the residual risks, can be reduced further, or however that needs to be better managed. But to the families and the victims, I mean, I always feel for them, and you know, my thoughts and prayers will always be with them. And thank you to the community as well, because they were phenomenal too, right? The amount of offers we had for dogs or accommodation or food or whatever it was, the care from the community and the sense of hurt that was evident throughout Tauranga and the Bay was really felt, really heartfelt.
What involvement have you had with Mauao since its closure?
I was down there during the search and rescue, and then into the recovery stage every day down there. Obviously not on the tools, but just chatting to the first responders. Mate, they were amazing, They did such an incredible job. You can see how much they care. They did their best for those people in there and for their families. Now, it's probably the hardest period of my political career, to be honest. It was a bloody awful period.
What do you think these investigations are looking into?
Ultimately, with these things, you just want to make sure that if there are lessons learned or failures that happen, that the lessons are learned from those. I think the most important thing is that the findings of it and everything that's gone into it is open and transparent, and people are accountable.
Do you know roughly when it'll be open, or do you have any sort of idea of a timeline?
Well, no, I've been pushing for council to try and get this open as quickly as they can, right? I mean, once the safety aspect's dealt with, people need to get back up there. It's a really important part of a lot of people's health and well-being and spiritual wellness.
Even though Sam is the MP for our region, realistically it is the decision of TCC and the Mauao Trust. One councillor has been vocal about transparency and accountability within the council since the slips happened. Glenn Crowther says it has been a very expensive time for the ratepayer.
We don't have an exact figure up to right now, but at one point we were like we'd hit the $1 million mark after the first couple of months, and we're told that it'll be I think the budget for July to June financial year is about $6 million that we've put aside, but there'll be capital costs as well of actually implementing changes that are not just going in and doing a bit of upgrading of things. It's actually significant costs like retaining walls and things that'll be part of the capital expenditure. So that's on top of that. But we have been fortunate, we've had money in reserves that we can call on for this. And we've also had some money that was underspent in the last financial year, so we've been able to bring that forward as well. And that helps to keep the costs down to the ratepayers. But putting it simply, it's incredibly expensive.
You were a little bit vocal in a recent council meeting around a risk assessment that was put out that was being kind of...
Oh, right, yeah, you saw that.
Skated around by other councillors. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I can tell you as much as I can tell you, because the decision was that discussion of that had to go into a public excluded session. So my argument was that what happened, the tragedy at Mauao and the loss of the lives and whatever did or didn't happen leading up to it, that's the past and there's nothing we can do to change that, sadly. So therefore My own personal view was that we should be very transparent about everything and put that discussion into the public so that people would actually see that we're genuinely trying to learn from it, trying to figure out, you know, what led to it and what we need to do. And the argument, I guess, that won the day was that it's probably better not to put it into the public because it might, as we have a discussion and we throw out questions and ideas, that may not reflect where we end up on this.
This is obviously a piece of land that's basically of national significance.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is it normal for a council to fund repairs on privately owned land?
Well, yeah, I don't think there's much normal, to be honest, about the situation we're in here. A piece of private land, no, we don't normally do that. A piece of, and the fact that it's iwi owned means, depending on how you define public and private, you know, you could argue it's neither because it's collectively owned by iwi, as opposed to by a family or a person or whatever. But also the fact that it's a historic reserve means public access has to be guaranteed. And so all of that makes it a bit more complex. And I guess our position as a council, informally, and you know, I think it wouldn't surprise anyone, is that we would like to see the government chip in a bit towards the cost of repair, simply because, as you say, it's a national landmark. It's a very significant tourism attraction for cruise ships and for international visitors and so on. And it's also of significant, you know, even for, not just for tangata whenua, but for non-Māori. We had a public consultation session, and it was surprising just the number of people who said that it was of spiritual significance and, you know, real deep significance to them.
I'm sure you've heard this question a million times, but when do you think the mountain will be open?
Yeah, so I guess I'd break it into, let's say, 4. So it's now public what the surf club have said. I think that's in a recent media story, and so they've got a plan to put in a retaining wall to protect the surf club building in case of another slip, and so they're looking to reopen. Then you've got the hot pools, and again, you know, I can't speak on behalf of the council, but I can say my sense of it is that the community has been overwhelmingly clear from what I've heard, and people around the council table, I think, are very keen to reopen that if at all possible. And I think the logical thing is that there has to be something put in place between a potential landslip and where the hot pool is, and that's what that geotechnical report should inform us about. You know, what do we need to protect hot pools there if we reopen them? So I would hope they will be open, and I hope they'll be open sooner rather than later. But in terms of what sooner means, I don't know. Then there's the issue of the campground, and I would probably split it into 2 in terms of, you know, there'll be people who don't want the campground reopened. There'll be people who are probably open to the ocean side of it if the risks have been taken care of by putting in infrastructure or doing something to protect people there from any future landslip. And then there'll also be on the Pilot Bay side, I guess, the concern that people have died there, and it is a tapu site. And, you know, do people want to even go back there and camp around that area? Can we really make it safe there? And again, I don't have enough information at this stage, but certainly it'd be my hope that we'd still be able to have some form of campground on part of it, if at all possible, but it does have to be safer, obviously. And then the last one, of course, is Mauao itself. And do we reopen the mount as it was before? I think the starting point is that the iwi and the council are keen to reopen it, and legally, of course, it's a historic reserve that has to have public access. So I don't think that's the question. The question is when, and the question is sort of in what way. And I think what I get the sense of is, you know, when it rains, like when there's an orange or red rain warning, I don't know if we'll be reopening the mount on those days. But when it comes to just the normal run of the mill, I'm confident there will be public access to the mount before, you know, too long in the future, but again, how long is that? I'm told there's some good work happening in recent weeks. The summit track will be fully, and the summit track network will be finished pretty soon. And then it's just a matter of figuring out how much of that base track can we reopen and how quickly. And there was a setback with the recent storm and another landslip there. So, but I know a lot of those businesses at the Mount, they're desperate to have stuff open by Christmas, and I'm confident there will be stuff open by Christmas. The question is, will we get the whole of that base track and the whole track network open by then? And I'm not sure, and again, until we see these reports.